In order for us to continue to move forward and striving for equity and striving for change, we have to be able to talk about our past in a way that's really meaningful. And the memorial, I think, is a beautiful first step in starting that conversation. It's intended to be a space for reflection and healing. It's a space of truth-telling. We want folks to bring classes here. We want folks to engage in that way. Slavery wasn't an experience that by any means should just be something in our past that we say happened and we can talk about it. We should help folks heal past that trauma and past the brutality of it. The first thing design-wise that greets you when you come into the memorial is this broken shackle image. It represents a freedom from physical bondage. There's the path towards the North Star, and that was the path towards freedom. And then a second path kind of aligns with the sunset on March 3rd, which is Liberation and Freedom Day. It is 80 feet, which matches the diameter of the rotunda, taking up that space that is so rightly deserved in honoring this legacy. There is a timeline of events that happen all the way through until Isabella Gibbons' death. And Isabella Gibbons was a member of the enslaved community, and she really took it upon herself to encourage reflection, encourage moving the needle towards equity and equality. And so her eyes are on the back of the memorial. I would encourage everyone, if they can, come witness it in person, feel the stone, see the timeline, be here and be present, and take a second to reflect, honor, and encourage folks to move forward with that history.
Good morning. My name is Alvin Edwards, and I'm the pastor of the Mount Zion First African Baptist Church here in Charlottesville. And I am a member of the President's Commission on Slavery and the university, for which I am thankful to be a member of. And I want to welcome each of you to the virtual dedication of the Memorial for Enslaved Laborers. I want to welcome you to the vision of the former president of the University of Virginia, Ms. Teresa Sullivan, and the Board of Visitors, then for institutionalizing efforts to recognize enslaved laborers' contributions. And I also want to thank the PCSU Committee and President Ryan for continuing this recognition. And I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge that the land we live, learn, and work on is a traditional territory of the Monacan Indian Nation. We pay respect to their elders, both past and present, and additionally, we acknowledge and pay respect to the enslaved people who built and labored at the University of Virginia. I welcome you to join us and share in the experience as we memorialize, as we celebrate, as we commemorate and learn lessons of the contribution of people of color who were enslaved and yet helped to build this university community that we're thankful for. Now let us pray. Thou who art called by many names, as we bow on this day, we thank you that you have put it in the hearts of the leaders of the University of Virginia to pause and honor those persons who were enslaved and built the university. Let their memories remind all of us that our works do follow us. This we ask in the name that is above every name, the great I Am, the Eternal One, we do pray. Amen.
Can we forget the crack of the whip, the cowhide, the whipping post, the auction block, the handcuffs, the spaniels, the iron collar, the Negro trader tearing the young child from its mother's breast as a whelp from the lioness? Have we forgotten those horrible cruelties, hundreds of our race killed? No, we have not, nor ever will. Isabella Gibbons, a former enslaved person owned by a University of Virginia faculty member, wrote these words 2 years after the end of the Civil War. She went on to become an educator, and it is fittingly her words and her eyes through which we can feel the past reach through the stone of the memorial to enslaved laborers and impel us to greater understanding, empathy, and justice. In a year in which we have too often suffered heartache, isolation, and loss as a result of a global pandemic that has taken millions of lives, as well as unprecedented challenges to democracy and the unjust deaths of Black citizens at the hands of law enforcement, we have also witnessed moments of hope. Global social justice movements have sought to redress inequities related to policing, punishment, and voting rights. Scientists, meanwhile, have developed an ingenious vaccine that is bringing the pandemic closer to its end. Against this context, the memorial is an especially meaningful symbol of healing and connection. It is not only a bridge between generations, but also a bridge from the darkness of hidden injustices to the light that knowledge and recognition bring. I'd like to express my profound gratitude for the work of so many at UVA and in the local community to dream, envision, design, research, collaborate, build, and engrave the memorial. Their work will be remembered for as long as the granite from which the memorial is built endures. This work began with the UVA students who were the driving force behind the memorial we dedicate today. In 2009, the Student Council's Diversity Initiatives Committee established the Memorial for Enslaved Laborers group, solicited community input, organized scholarly panels and talks, and ultimately sponsored a competition for memorial designs in partnership with the Black Student Alliance and the University and Community Action for Racial Equity group. Alumni from the UVA Idea Fund, led by Tierney Fairchild, were integral to next steps. They commissioned a report summarizing existing efforts around UVA's history with slavery and recommended an institutional response. In 2013, President Teresa Sullivan wisely created the President's Commission on Slavery and the University. The commission was co-chaired by Marcus Martin, then Vice President and Chief Officer for Diversity and Equity, and Kurt Von Dack, Assistant Dean and Professor of History in the College of Arts and Sciences. Their 2018 report was foundational to our understanding of the ways in which the reprehensible institution of slavery was indeed integral to the building, founding, and early flourishing of UVA. Their careful scholarship and narrative were crucial to the design of the memorial. Kevin Fay, a former member of the Board of Visitors and chair of the Building and Grounds Committee at the time of the memorial's approval, championed this work, as did former board member John McFarland, who spearheaded fundraising efforts. Ishraga El Tahir and Khalifa Lee were pioneering student advocates and leaders. Eric Howler and Mi Jin Yoon, architects extraordinaire, have created a work of lasting significance, along with project manager Namju Kim. We thank design team members Mabel O. Wilson, the team historian, Eto Otatigbe, the artist who designed the unforgettable gaze of Isabella Gibbons, Frank Dukes, who led the public engagement effort, and Greg Bleem of Greg Bleem Landscape Architects. The talented team of Devon Henry, Patrick Lindsay, and Mike Spence at Team Henry Enterprises ably oversaw construction of the work. Alex Marshall and Jim Durham from Cora Stone managed the stonework, even through long days of winter mud. UVA's Office of the Architect, including University Landscape Architect Mary Hughes, architect for the University Alice Raucher, project manager Sarita Herman, and construction administration manager Ted Nelson contributed leadership and support throughout. Finally, Megan Faulkner and the MAL Community Engagement Committee coordinated a collaborative process for events with the local community and the Descendant community. We are indebted to each of you for your contributions to the memorial. I would like to close with a special acknowledgement of the families with ties to the names, locations, and memory marks that appear on the memorial. Your ancestors toiled, often anonymously, facing violence and harassment, and not under their free will, to build the University of Virginia. It is to them that we owe our deepest gratitude. May this memorial bring to their families a measure of solace and a step towards spiritual repair. Thank you.
Mbote. I bring you greetings, cousins from Oakland, California. My name is Regina Calloway. I'm so honored to be here to share in this memorial experience with you. This day is so important because indeed it is the day the Lord has made, but it also is the day where our ancestors' promises are realized through us. We lift up their names, their stories, and we usher the healing in spiritual reparations. So I want to thank you to the South Halls, to the Hearns, to the Burns, to the Carrs, to the Miners, to the Terrells, to the Harrises, the Harristons, and so many more. We give praise to life. I honor and thank you, Dr. Shelley Murphy, for all things Virginia that you've shown me. And a special salute to my cousin, Nikki Smith Reams, for ushering this day. Blessings to all of you. Thank you.
This memorial means to me that I stand here today on the shoulders of my great-great-uncle Peyton Skipwith, who labored here as a for-hire slave laborer from Bremo Plantation in Fluvanna County 160 years ago. And I can thank him this day for his perseverance toward freedom on my behalf. God bless him and all others memorialized here.
While we wish we could be together for this dedication, I remain humbled to stand before you representing the efforts of many. We know that legacies are powerful. I've developed an even more intimate appreciation of that power recently. My mom passed away last year before getting the chance to see the memorial in person. She was a huge supporter of my work on this project, and I want to mention her because I'm a part of her legacy. I know she's proud. As students, we felt the legacies of the individuals whose names are engraved here, and those whose names we do not know. As a Black student at the University of Virginia, those legacies manifested for me in particularly complicated ways. They were everywhere and in everything. Present alongside them, so was the legacy of slavery that still feeds the systemic racism of today. There was never any disputing the power of the legacies. We all felt them. Memory of a complete history is what we were denied.
Yes, and in remembrance, we must not forget those whose work birthed this memorial and all the foundational reparative work surrounding it. For in all great change there stands the spark that leads to its creation, the voice that sparked our Big Bang momentum in 2006, Dean Rick Turner, our dean who valiantly fought for an environment that would ensure the students he served could thrive, thus laying the very groundwork to bring this idea into reality. We give thanks to him and the students and faculty whom I united with, working tirelessly from 2006 into 2009. First for a class project, next for the liberation of bodies in space, and even more so for a peaceful honoring of our ancestors.
Building on years of work of countless faculty, students, and Charlottesville community members, the Memorial for Enslaved Laborers Committee, established in 2009, pushed for truth-telling of a painful but critical part of the university's story. Most importantly, we came together to acknowledge the very real lives of those honored women and men, often erased from common narrative. It took several generations of stakeholders fighting to make the case for public recognition,
which include our Charlottesville family, staff and faculty of UVA, and the many students who would engage in this work with the University Community Racial Reconciliation Project, or UCRP, whom all worked along with us as two students, adding Jason James and Lakeisha Banks. All of us carried the work of reconciliatory action, community inclusionary education, as well as proper memorialization. Along with the many moons of the Memorial for Enslaved Laborers Committee, the students who worked tirelessly for love and righteousness to guarantee that there would be engagement in the topics of reconciliation, reparations, and a correct storytelling of the legacy of enslavement at UVA.
A pivotal point for our effort, and one of my favorites, was a student design competition we held in 2011. Through that, we proved that the imagination, imperative, and desire do all exist to tell this story in a dignified and honest way. 10 years later, to be here at this site is surreal for me. There are so many people whose imprint is on this project and who deserve credit. I would like to extend a special acknowledgement to my fellow founding members of the Student Committee, Kyle Bancroft, Jasmine Drake, Carrie Filippetti, Anna Criselda Flintelar, Ryan Hicks, Alyssa Moraine, Barkot Tasema, and Edna Toure, as well as Frank Dukes and the University and Community Action for Racial Equity for their continued support.
And to the winners of that competition, whose work would give the very foundation to the very design and even the location that we see today. We feel this project, one of many powerful works, has brought life and light to the buried and forgotten, those long gone and those who are still standing, those still teaching, those still cleaning, and those still living life inside and outside the plantation, as Charlottesville would call it. To them we give thanks and acknowledgement. And to my mother and her drive to see me reach bounds unseen by coming here to humbly be a part of the edification of history, our story, at UVA, Seville, ATL, the USA, even in the beautiful ugly that it is. We pray everyone joins us in the consistent remembrance and the ongoing reparations work to come.
The people to which this memorial is dedicated will never know the full extent of their legacies and the gratitude that I and others have for them. To their descendants, to whom this university owes a tremendous debt, I hope you find some comfort in this space. May we all draw courage and healing from our ancestors as they live on in all of us. A physical memorial is important and a long overdue addition to the university, but by no means is it an end for the simultaneous dismantling and building work that still needs to be done. So even as we celebrate and congratulate, may we push forward in earnest.
The actions we take, the knowledge we gain, that's where the power of change resides.
What we memorialize is, of course, important. There are some things we wish to remember ourselves and to have our children and grandchildren remember. There are other things we would actually just as soon forget. The university has gone through various periods and phases of what it held in memory and what it forgot. The history of slavery, to a large extent, was something we forgot. So I thought it was important for us to look at what I thought of as the hidden history of UVA.
The charge of the President's Commission on Slavery University is to commemorate the University of Virginia's history, first of all, but also to recognize enslaved laborers' contributions to the building of this institution. For many years, that story was not told.
What we fundamentally do as a university is research and education. We try to uncover new knowledge and we pass that knowledge on to our students.
One of our charges from the president was to do the research, to go into the records, to try to tease out the history of slavery at the university and learn some of the names of the enslaved.
Who was bought and sold? Who was rented? Who actually laid the cornerstone? Who erected the institution?
This history, it's hidden in plain sight all across grounds. The entire university was a site of enslavement, and our goal has been to reinscribe that history and the lives of the enslaved back onto the landscape in as many ways as possible.
Naming buildings after the enslaved, creating information in the Rotunda Visitor Center that provides history about enslaved laborers' contributions to the university.
We've developed an entire curriculum, classes that teach the local and particular story at the university.
We've uncovered through archaeology much of the history of slave families who lived behind the pavilions in the gardens, behind the serpentine walls.
And now we are about to fundraise and erect a memorial to enslaved laborers that will be placed on the footprint of UNESCO World Heritage Site just north and east of the Rotunda.
It's meant to echo the diameter of the rotunda. It will list the names of the enslaved. We have nearly 1,000 people that we can identify from the records. This memorial is meant to finally acknowledge the thousands of enslaved people who built and maintained the university, speak to the meaning and value of their lives, and connect back to the academical village.
There's more work to be done here. I very much hope that this commission or another group would also be able to look at other parts of the university's history.
Recent events in America tell us we have to tell this story. We have to confront our own past and use it as a teaching tool. It's our only hope.
Going forward, having that knowledge, teaching our students, educating the public is an opportunity to heal. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to know what we need to do next.
Dealing with the painful parts of our history is hard in our personal lives, and it's hard in our institutional life. I created the President's Commission on Slavery and the University because there was so much of UVA's history that we had lost or thrown away. And as we approached our bicentennial, we needed to recover what had been lost. Dr. Marcus Martin and Kurt Von Dock led a dedicated group of researchers, students, alumni, community members, and descendants in this work. Many donors also helped with significant encouragement from the Idea Fund. The commission was charged with a number of tasks. We are a knowledge-based institution. An important first task was to recover the knowledge about the university's history with slavery. The commission learned a great deal, and we are continuing to learn. Many of the names of the enslaved laborers you see here came from their work in records and in interviews. A second important task was to propose appropriate memorialization. The commission proposed and undertook memorializing tasks, such as the rediscovery, renovation, and rededication of the enslaved people's cemetery north of the University Cemetery. Following on the requests and the previous work of UVA students, the commission proposed this memorial to enslaved laborers. The memorial's visual links to the rotunda, to the Charlottesville community, and to the academical village help to tell the story in stone that the commission has helped us to learn. People memorialize what is important to them. And with this memorial, the commission helps us ensure that the hidden lives of enslaved laborers are now publicly remembered for their importance to the University of Virginia.
I'm Dr. Marcus Martin. It was my privilege to serve as co-chair of the PCSU, President's Commission on Slavery and the University, with Professor Kurt Von Dock. Efforts by students, the UVA Idea Fund trustees, the Office for Diversity and Equity, and others over a decade led to the PCSU established by President Teresa Sullivan, September 2013, with the charge to provide recommendations on the commemoration of UVA's historical relationship with slavery and enslaved people. This memorial to enslaved laborers would not be here today without the steadfast support of President Sullivan and the Board of Visitors to institutionalize and synergize the efforts of the community and the university through the actions of the PCSU.
I extend my heartfelt thank you to President Sullivan for her unwavering support, and I thank the rectors and other board members for the tremendous and essential support over the years, including approval of the memorial design, construction, and financial commitments. Barbara Freed, Whit Clement served as board liaisons to the PCSU, and John McFarland worked with the PCSU every step of the way, including chairing the fundraising efforts in collaboration with university advancement. Their support was invaluable, and I can't thank them enough. The 26-member PCSU, consisting of students, staff, faculty, administrators, alumni, community members, community relations task force, our local and national advisory boards, and the Office for Diversity and Equity staff, completed numerous initiatives related to our charge and delivered a final report to President Sullivan, with construction of the memorial well underway. We acknowledge the past and must learn from it, but we will never forget the horrors and dehumanization of slavery. This memorial, located at the intersection of the North Pathway to Freedom and Sunset on the day 14,000 enslaved in Charlottesville and Albemarle County were liberated, allows us to reflect and hopefully heal. So let us, on this momentous occasion and beyond, also aspire to become a more inclusive, equitable, and just society. Thank you.
In 2013, as the President's Commission on Slavery and the University began our research documenting slavery here, we knew we had to be unafraid to follow the truth wherever it may lead. To paraphrase Frederick Douglass, the life of a university is secure only while the university is honest, truthful, and virtuous. We were keenly aware about highlighting the significant contributions of the enslaved to building and maintaining the university for decades. As one community member told us at our first workshop, "You darn well better build a memorial to honor their lives, labor, skill, and humanity in the face of oppression and violence. Knowing their names is not enough. We must call the names of these unsung founders: Jack, Gregory, John Taylor, Sandy, Squire, and so many others." 4 years of research in the archives. We pored over university records as well as student and faculty written materials that survive. We made real progress. The memorial's memory wall includes Sam, Davy, Lewis, Prudence, Ryland, and so many others. Isabella Gibbons in 1867 asked, "Can we forget the horrible cruelties of bondage?" She answered, "No, we have not, nor ever will." W.E.B. Du Bois noted, "Emancipation was the key to a promised land of sweeter beauty than ever stretched before the eyes of wearied Israelites. In song and exhortation swelled one refrain: liberty." Today, this memorial acknowledges the yearnings of those unsung founders and calls their names: Nelson, Lancelot, Wyatt, Rhoda, Randall, and so many others. Our work has made great strides in creating a new university public memory that unflinchingly acknowledges the horrors of human bondage while honoring the humanity of the enslaved. We must call their names: Anthony, Jackson, Pendleton, Pryor, Jenny, and so many others. Our work revealed the names of over 600 people. This memorial, the culmination of the process of research, acknowledgement, community engagement, and atonement, makes sure that we will never forget again the stories, and we will always call their names: Jeff, James, Robin, Nemo, Charlotte, and so many others, more than I could possibly call out in these short remarks. It is in so many ways still just the beginning. We have so much more work to do. But today, at least, we can celebrate and call the names of the university's unsung founders: William Green, Zachariah, Jane, and so many others. Thank you.
wanted this monument to be an open monument, really more a memorial than a monument, something that was a space nestled into a landscape that felt comfortable for all. And so the calibration of scale, the way the human body feels next to the wall on the inside or on the outside was really important to creating a sense of a safe space, a comfortable space that you could gather and you could engage in an outdoor conversation or seminar as an individual or as a small group or as a larger collective.
It creates this sort of continuity, it creates these strings between the names and the gashes.
This project is important to me because it makes an intervention in history. The fact that it's located in a UNESCO World Heritage Site is a major victory for those who were enslaved here at UVA, and also for UVA is taking a stance about how they're transforming the narrative here at the university. I think UVA understands that it's an ongoing commitment and that the memorial doesn't end their commitment to expanding the story of people who were enslaved here by the university and who helped build and establish the university. The memorial is one signifier of their efforts, but there will also be ongoing educational efforts and things that really change the fabric and culture of UVA.
It not only tells the story that we know, it participates in the unfolding of the story in the future to right past wrongs, and in that way becomes a symbol for equity and social justice forevermore.
What does the memorial to enslaved laborers at the University of Virginia mean to me? It means to me honoring and recognizing my ancestor, Jim Henderson, and the other 4,000 slaves who built this institution. It means telling their stories and the start of righting a wrong.
My name is Kimberly Cottrell Dickerson. Several of my Cottrell ancestors, including Jim, Lucy, and Dolly, were enslaved at UVA. To me, the memorial represents a visible reminder of the true history of slavery and racism at UVA. But it also represents a space to remember the courage and contributions of my ancestors and the thousands of others named and unnamed.
My name is Lorenzo Dickerson, and I'm a native of Albemarle County, Virginia. And several of my ancestors in the Maupin family were enslaved at the University of Virginia, including Garland, William Dabney Maupin, and Sam Maupin. What the memorial means to me as a filmmaker and a storyteller, being that uncovering these important stories of our history is of the utmost importance. It means a physical acknowledgement of the work that these folks did to build the university and their contribution. So me being someone who was born at the University of Virginia and who now is employed by the University of Virginia, the location means more than just being a destination to me at this point, knowing this history. It changes that a little bit for me, and it gives it more importance.
Good morning. My name is John McFarland, and it's a great honor to be with you today. Inspired by a journey which my wife Dudley and I undertook when we restored an enslaved cemetery on a farm which we purchased over 15 years ago, we knew how important it was to support this memorial. Like UVA's enslaved population, our cemetery had been hidden from sight and left to decay through over 150 years of neglect. Removed not only from sight, but also from our nation's history, our enslaved cemetery was among countless others throughout the South that suffered a similar fate. And so we resolved to tell its story in a prominent way with an extensive restoration, culminating with the dedication of a plaque, which is also applicable to those honored by this memorial. And I would like to read it. Quote, knowing neither their names nor their circumstances, we dedicate this monument to honor the lives of those buried here, with the hope that it will serve as a reminder that many suffered unfairly during the formative years of our nation, and that we must forever strive to ensure that past mistakes are neither forgotten nor rationalized. Furthermore, that we carry forth with an understanding that the pursuit of an equal and fair society requires continued evaluation and improvement, unquote. It is in this spirit that Dudley and I were inspired both to contribute and to help raise funds for this transformative project. We are grateful for that opportunity and extend our heartfelt thanks to the many donors who have given generously. This is a very special and proud day of recognition for the enslaved community of UVA and for their descendants, and I am deeply honored to participate in this long-deserved tribute. May God bless those recognized on these walls and their families.
Hello, I'm Carol Malone, great-great-great-niece of Mr. Peyton Skipwith. On behalf of the descendants of Mr. Peyton Skipwith, seeing his name on the memorial for enslaved laborers fills my heart with pride and sadness. Peyton was a great family man, loving father and husband who loved his siblings and dearly loved his mother. An educated man with a signature that was a work of art, who had to sign his name with an X for fear of death because he could read and write. A skilled stonemason who cut stone from a quarry for the construction of buildings on the UVA campus. In 2017, UVA dedicated Skipwith Hall in his honor, most likely built on the site of that quarry. Peyton, along with 4,000 to 5,000 known and unknown patriots and citizens, toiled at UVA under unspeakable horrors and oppression to carve out a life of dignity and hope for their families and descendants. On November 5th, 1833, Peyton Skipwith and his wife, Lydia, and their 6 children departed from Monrovia, Liberia aboard the Jupiter, arriving on the last day of the year. Surviving the death of his wife and daughter Felicia the first year, he survived illness, blindness, cultural wars, extreme heat, and a tough terrain to become a warrior, liberator, statesman, successful stonemason, contractor, and mentor. As his descendants, we carry on his legacy of education and professional success. I leave with you his words in a letter to John Hart Wilcock, dated September 29th, 1844. I am blessed with a trade, for you have sent me to this country where I can speak for myself like a man and show myself to be a man, so fair as my ability allows me. We are proud of you, Mr. Peyton Skipwith, and we love you. Your spirit brought us together. Thank you.
What the Memorial to Enslaved Laborers at the University of Virginia means to me is an opportunity to answer the deafening silence call of the ancestors. I've stood, cried, grieved in the midst of the monument. Encamped by slopes of granite, I've heard the voices of the ancestors, those enslaved calling, yet only heard by those willing to receive. They're calling out their God-given names, those given by their endearing mothers and grandmothers who hoped and prayed that the life of their child would be better and greater than all they could imagine. I hear the ancestors calling out their names because on the wall their names cannot be found. They are nameless and only identified by the laborious nature of their occupations, imposed and mandated by their masters. My heart hears them calling out to their descendants. Yes, that call is to each of us to keep going, to keep searching, to keep uniting, to keep reclaiming, to keep honoring, and to strive to repair the generational trauma embedded by 100 years of physical, emotional, and spiritual bondage. To those enslaved names on the wall and to those names whom we promise to identify, we are here because of you, and we are grateful for your endurance, your strength, your perseverance, and your love. We continue to honor you and to find ourselves because we still are not yet free.
My serpentine, you are the garden snake that slithers through my freshly plowed lawn, wraps itself round my swollen ankles and calls me boy, curves its way up my spine until I have no choice but to kneel.
My serpentine, you see the way my aching hands bleed, cracked skin faithfully stacking cracked brick under a sweltering southern sun.
My serpentine, tonight I scrub the crinkled stone walls clean. Wipe off the venom before it stains my skin. Let my tears water the trees that loan me shade.
When did time become cemented between these bricks? My serpentine, forgive me for overstepping unmarked boundaries, for stepping all over these bountiful gardens, pavilions that leave you perched above me in a sickening silence that swells in my ear. Hear the names of my brothers and sisters echoing down from pristine balconies. The crack of your whip meets the click of our tongues. Our languages remain foreign to one another.
My serpentine, you changed your colors with the seasons, turned your Confederate cardinal red to orange and blue, kept your hatred tucked inside corks and curls. Now you see some secrets simply must unfurl and topple, the way Kitty Foster's home did, left in the shadows while your rotunda was rebuilt. Such recklessness reigning from those called rational. The consequences of your actions are far from fractional.
My serpentine, must Swanson sue you to get your attention? Use your laws, your language, until you bite your own tongue. Crouch between your colonnades quoting Jefferson until the contradictions catch you off guard, catch you idle as my humanity is threatened, catch you silent as my community is displaced, catch you indifferent as my story is erased. Watch how quickly you craft the next excuse.
When did hate become cemented between these bricks? My serpentine. Your fang marks, they swollen in my chest, trying to suck the life out of our families, trying to suck the soul out of our names, trying to suck the truth out of our histories. When I shout for justice, you cry for understanding. Your hot breath fogs up windows until I am invisible. When I demand change, you question my legitimacy, pretend I speak of myths. Boy, check your white fragility.
My serpentine, I see you. Fierce eyes, scales and all. You cannot shed yourself of me, my body, my being.
My serpentine, I built you. Winding curves, cracks and all. You cannot see yourself without me, my body, my being. My serpentine,
I write you down and capture myself.
I tear you down and free myself.
Hello, I am Detisa Brown Gathers. I am a native of Charlottesville, an employee of UVA. I am a mom, a UVA mom. I'm a grandmother, and I'm a local activist and support my husband, who is also a local activist, Don Gathers. The Memorial to Enslaved Laborers Community Engagement Group, we formed in order to make a way for this very day. So through this, I found myself. And I'm so happy that I learned more about who I am and learned my connection to this great monument. I became even more interested in this endeavor after the death of my own mother, Charlotte Brown, whom was one of the hidden nurses. So at the time of her death and by her bedside, she made one clear statement to me. She said, "Don't forget about me." Me not forgetting about her is not forgetting about all 4,000 names on this wall. I want the next brown girl like me to understand that they come from people that are resilient, people that worked hard, people that labored for this community and not just the University of Virginia. And this is why it's important to continue this story and to make sure that we continue to have a place at the table as descendants. And I would like to now introduce Bertha French. She is also my co-chair. She's a UVA alum, and she is a descendant of those that were enslaved at UVA.
In a letter to Governor James Barber, Professor Robert Patterson, a resident of Pavilion 5, requests, "The continuance of the sickness at the university and the probability that it might not disappear before hot weather have determined me to take my leave on to Philadelphia. I wish you to give up my boy Alfred at the end of his current month to Colonel Bram. He is hired often, by the month. His wife, I suppose, has already gone home. Henry will stay and attend to the garden." March 9th, 1829. While not much more is known about Alfred and Henry, we do know that they belong to a community and network of enslaved laborers in the Madison Barber Historic District, a corridor of large plantations riddling the Constitution route between Monticello and Montpelier, including the Governor's, a home designed by friend and mentor Thomas Jefferson. It is only recently that we knew of Alfred and Henry's connection and just how entrenched the Barbers were in building the university in its early years, and later the family's influence as the university emerges from the Civil War. The governor's son, Benjamin Johnson Barber, would become the university's first rector after the Civil War. Governor Barber purchased my third great-grandmother, Priscilla, at a tender age of 12 for $350 as he ascended into his position and became the first resident of the governor's mansion in Richmond. My daughter Josephine would later reflect on the experience of holding the actual bill of sale for Priscilla's acquisition as a formative experience as she wrote her personal statement on her application to UVA. While archival research in special collections helps tell part of my family's story, my most cherished sources have been the oral histories passed down through the generations. I can now connect Priscilla to another important figure at the university. Priscilla's granddaughter, my great-grandmother Alberta, would marry a Reverend William James Howard of Zion Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. He was the pastor who would take over after the death of Charlottesville native William Gibbons, husband to Isabella Gibbons of the Jefferson School. This generation of strivers achieved Priscilla's wildest dreams despite emancipation's broken promises. I am proud to also be a Black alumna of UVA and share Priscilla's story as we honor our ancestors today. The Descendants of Enslaved Communities at the University of Virginia belongs to a growing consortium of descendants of enslaved laborers from the Commonwealth, dedicated to preserving the memory of the many forgotten souls who shaped not just the physical, but the political, economic, and cultural landscape of the University of Virginia, Charlottesville, and our nation. Descendant communities are highlighting the foundational role race-based slavery, white supremacy, and colonial systems played in building many of our nation's institutions, including our current systems of finance, education, healthcare, and housing. Empowered descendant voices challenge the public to consider marginalized interpretations of history and centers the gaps in ethical education about the history and ongoing legacies of American chattel slavery. The DEC at UVA sees the University of Virginia as an African American historic site built by the 4,000 plus enslaved laborers identified through university-led archival research and whose biographies continue to be unearthed by our organization. The university literally would not be here were it not for our ancestors. The descendants have been here since the laying of the first cornerstone, and we have inextricably been linked to UVA throughout the generations. Our ancestors' legacy is, among many things, the actual university. To tell the truth and help people reckon with this history, the descendants seek to research and reclaim the narrative, to honor the legacies of enslaved and free Black communities and their descendants, and to achieve restorative justice for communities rooted at the University of Virginia and surrounding regions. Through its membership, we strive to identify, engage, and build community with the descendants of free and enslaved families associated with building and sustaining the University of Virginia. The DEC serves as the collective and unified voice of all descendants of enslaved and free Black communities who labored through investments in research, education, and preservation. The Descendants of Enslaved Communities hopes to offer a place of healing and space for our coalition and offers a strong framework for our membership through key partnerships including the Jefferson School, leaders in the Charlottesville community, and UVA's Black alumni. We remain committed to connecting our membership's memory and oral histories to archival sources to build out the biographies of the enslaved and free laborers and identifying new descendants through genealogical research. As students come and go, the descendants would like to see how the university will activate a central function within to institutionalize an entity or unit that would be the active proponent to advocate for reparative justice and reparations. Please join us by visiting our website, descendantsuva.org, and see how you can reclaim, honor, and repair.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not a weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the bright gleam of a bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places of God where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadow